Hi and welcome to a new episode of Dynamics Update. Today, as usual, I have my colleague Gustav with me. Hello, Gustav.
Hello, Johan. How are you this evening?
Yes, I'm fine. We are soon at Christmas. That's nice.
Yes.
So we are going to get a few days off. That's nice. And you?
Yeah, same here. I'm not sure if I'm ramping up or ramping down. It depends on when you ask. But yeah, looking forward to a few days with the family, of course.
Yes, of course. We also have a guest today. We are going to be talking about pricing, and for that we have Sherry with us. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Johan. My name is Sherry Zheng. I'm the principal product manager of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 supply chain management and commerce. So actually, behind me, there's a team called Unified Price Management.
Exactly.
So our teams, the mission of our teams is to integrate the best breeds of the supply chain management commerce pricing solution, and also to boost our customers' return on sales, margin uplift, and then to foster sales productivities. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's very cool to have you. I think that's really, really cool. I mean, pricing has been a very interesting story. I've worked in both retail and supply chain for in AX and so forth. There's always been this kind of trade agreements. Okay, I know how they work, and then we have the commerce part with the discounts and threshold discounts. It was never like easy to combine these two. You could do it, but you had to like work around it. But tell us, I mean, what has been the story? If I understand right, we've had different features, right? But it's now been kind of merged into one, as you say, with your team, right? And that is pricing management. So what has been the story there?
Yeah, basically, historically, we're also having a multiple pricing engine. For the supply chain management F&O, we're having a price engine that includes the trade agreement price, the trade agreement discounts, and other multiple features like sales agreements. In the meanwhile, we're also having the commerce price engine. It is more used previously on the retail scenarios, like B2C scenarios. We find that there are lots of like discount types that is very useful, like bundle, a threshold, tier. So it is very useful for the B2C scenarios, but that also cause a little bit confusion. Like we having two price engines, and nowadays we do observe there's a trend that more and more customers go into the omni-channel strategy. Yeah. Even the customers that is traditional SCM customers like manufacturer, they are also embrace this omni-channel concept, and they're having their web shops, and then they are also would like to having the direct sale to the customers, meaning that they wanted to having manage the price from their ends. So we're thinking that there's a trend to converge the B2B and B2C price in the same umbrella. So that's why we are actually building these features called unified price management. But there's also a prerequisite that we don't want to confuse the customer anymore, like having introduced another price engine. Now becomes three price engine. So before we started the project, we actually do some analysis on the gaps and the best features of the SCM and the commerce, and then found there are some common grounds and then features. And also we are thinking of starting from the trade agreement price, because lots of customers or partners already get used to that concept. Yeah. So I have to say that it is still a long journey, because we having price that integrated with the project operation. We are having a kind of a concept of trade promotion management in the trade alliance management. Yes. We're still in the process of integrate or make it a unified price engine. So after all, our goal is for the Dynamics SCM and commerce, we are having a unified price management feature as the only price engine, which also help to provide the customer a consistent customer experience.
It's very cool. And I think that I read a lot on the Viva Engage and Yammer threads, and I always think about, okay, the pricing management thread and maybe the Fabric Link Synapse thing. Those two are the main. There are so many questions and so much ongoing work, and across a lot of streams, of course. But it's a very daunting task that you have undertaken with the team, of course, to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Johan, I'm not going to even mention the whole dual rights pricing scenario here. I'm worried that you might might hang up here, but it's a lot of technical things, right, and a lot of old dependencies. But it all boils down to price and price agreements. And I've looked a lot at the tech talks. A big shout out here as well, of course, is to look at those tech talks. There's been one recently. I was not able to attend that. It's always, you know how it is. In Sweden, we're not we're not so compatible with the Pacific time zones. So it's either middle of night or it's exactly at like 5 o'clock or 6 when family time starts. So I usually look at the recordings, but you haven't released the last one yet because it was just last week, right?
Yes.
But you have a lot of work to do, right? So
yes.
There is a public preview right now of the pricing management, right? And it's becoming GA. You mentioned earlier in 43. So what is coming right now, if you can, and what is in the roadmap, basically? What will we be getting?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So first of all, what we actually released in the public preview, I think the most interesting feature is called attribute-based pricing, meaning is that we currently in SCM and commerce, we only allow fixed fields that to be used for when you generate a price rule. For example, the customer group, channel, product category. When we actually contact with the customers, they're thinking that purely these fields are not enough because so for example, if you think of like a distributor, they're having product of the brand, they're having product for the packing size, they're having different delivery mode, and then even they wanted to segment their customers, those loyalty customers, right? And then they're having different like VIP customers, and then how they can target these customers and then providing the best offer to those customers with the best product they want. So that's why we're starting from enhancing the trade agreement and discounts with this attribute-based pricing part. And then I think the beauty part is that we are actually introduced the attributes on that. So the product attributes is not a new concept, but we are able to leverage that, meaning that the customer do not need to extend the additional fields via extension, but just define the product attributes and define the custom attributes based on your business needs. It could be any attributes when you define it, right? And then put the value on that, and then you can actually define the pricing. So this is the main feature on that. Apart from that, we understand that a lot of our customers, like distributor, they're having very, very complex pricing. So they would like to, for example, their pricing strategy may be like cost-based pricing, meaning that they would like to having a base price, which is probably sourcing from the inventory's cost, or maybe from the purchase price. Yeah. And then upon that, they would like to build a layer like margin, but they also want this margin to be grouped based on different business purpose. So with that, they're actually built their final selling price before the discounts. And this gives us an idea like how we can help our customer to build their price waterfall analysis. So now we actually introduce this pricing structure. We call this price tree that helping customer to build their price structure. And then we also understand that there are some customers coming to us say, oh, this structure is not the only one we're having different pricing structure. So that's why also our pricing tree functionality on that. Upon that, some of customers saying, we also want to post a different ledger code for financial purpose. Because currently we are only like for each price rule, you can define like a posting profile or ledger code, but it can not group together, or it's just general or per price rule. Now we are actually enhanced on that function. So the price structure or price tree is definitely helping customer to do their price waterfall analysis, and also do if they want to differentiate the ledger code posting, they can leverage that as well. Another feature, I think it is more like we just like combine together, because if you're thinking of the price, it is not just the base price. It may be trade agreement price, but also discounts and then rebate, because we also think of rebate is called off invoice discounts. Exactly. And sometimes we also think of the charges. Maybe this is from the transportation charges. So it's also add up to if you're looking at the final price to the customer. So we wanted to build the attribute-based pricing and price tree, and then also having all those main components on that. So the price, the discounts, the rebates, the charges together. And then even when you actually having an order, you can see the price details, like how it breaks down into different components. So that is actually we delivered in the 10.0.41 and then 42. After we actually enhanced the functionality from the sales order perspective, we also heard some customers say, we also want this pricing feature to be work on the quotation part. So we delivered quotation as well in 10.0.42. So meaning that the customer using the sales quotation also can leverage the unified price management. So now we are coming to what is on our roadmap. So I have to say that we are experiencing changes. Every team in the product group, we are actually compete to get the results and then priorities on different features. But definitely one thing is most important is that to get our features go to the general availability. I have to say, during this public preview period, we do see a lot of adoption, no matter it is for the trial or it's only to go live. And then we've been asked by the customer because I think the go live give, the GA, the general availability give the customer and partner the confidence that we're mature enough. We do having some customers already go live, but definitely GA is our premier target. So we will deliver as you just mentioned, that in 10.0.43 as our general availability date. And in the meantime, that we're working on some features that we are being asked for. So first of all, migration is the one that we're working on because we wanted to having the existing customers, they want to transfer to the attribute-based pricing or unified pricing management quite easily in a smooth way. So we are actually working on that, especially from the commerce perspective, because SCM customer is how our starting from. But in this half years, we are working on how we can converge the commerce customer. So that's why we're providing the functionality called price group. That is already existing concept in commerce. Commerce price engine to be able to having the price group integrated with the catalog and the loyalty programs and channels, all those things. So in the general availability, apart from general availability, we are also working on the migration. And another part is that we've been heard for the requirement to enable the sales order line attribute as the price attributes. So this is the one that we are also would like to deliver in 10.0.43. If in the long run that we heard another lots of features that, for example, in the supply chain management, we are supporting the unit price. So for those customers, they are selling goods that of small pieces. When they actually set up their price, they are not set up per unit, but they are set up their unit price and then specify the unit. It is supported in the supply chain management, but it does not support it in commerce. So we are also will enable that functionality. Similar generics currencies, to able to having this generic currency support is also important to the trade agreement price. So, from long run, we are still converge the difference between the B2B and B2C pricing. In the meantime, that we're also exploring how we can leverage the Copilot functionality to enable the autonomous pricing management on that part. Yeah. It's just a very early stage.
Yeah, it's a lot of things, and I think you have a lot of things to do on your plate as well. It's interesting to see a lot of stuff, and I think there are a lot of questions, of course. But the main component here, of course, apart from attributes, that's a very cool thing to add. Pricing trees, then that's also that's a new functionality, right? That you kind of build up your price models. You can have multiple models, right? And they can be based on purchase price, they can be based on inventory cost, and then you can add components to that, and then you can have discounts. So you go from, from my perspective, it's also, are there any plans to trade agreements will be there still as a base sales price list, if I understand correctly, but will you have some kind of roadmap to how to move from trade agreements to the more fixed, or is that something that you have to figure out? I mean, if you have a trade agreement model today, will you be providing some kind of assistance in moving over to this new model and understanding the price tree and all the components that need to be set up?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, if we're doing the migration, we are providing the default. So our concept is to minimize the work for existing customers to do additional setup or something. So for those customers that are using the migration, we are thinking we just do providing some default price tree and then price component code, so that customer do not need to set up initially. But if they it will be linked to the trade agreement price or the trade agreement general lines.
Yeah.
So that the customer just will feel that the UI has a little bit changed, not that changed actually, because we are enhanced with the attribute, allowing you to select from attribute rather than the fields. With the migration, the customer will not need to intentionally set up any price tree or price component code unless they wanted to having a further analysis and wanted to group on that.
Okay. So you can still opt out, but somewhere down the line, hopefully, as you said, we don't want to have so many price engines, right? The end goal there is to have one price engine, but it can still be a very simple price engine. You can have just a fixed price list, and that will still work, right? So you don't need to have complicated setup.
Yeah, exactly. I also wanted to clarify because we're also having some partners coming to us because they having built a lot of extension on the commerce price engine. Yeah. And then they're asking us whether we're introduced the third price engine. So basically the answer is simple, we are building our unified price management on the existing commerce price engine, but enabling the supply chain management price features. Yeah. So with that, the CSU-based API can also be leveraged, and all those discount types can also be leveraged. So yeah, if they wanted to build an extension on that, it is quite familiar to the existing partners working on the commerce engine. Yeah.
And as you said, this is not a license podcast, but I mean the licensing question here. When you use the CSU, you can still do this without having to buy commerce license, right? You can still use supply chain license and still enable this functionality. It's just if you need to deploy a CSU and use it externally, that's when you need a commerce license. If I understand.
Exactly. Exactly. And we also noticed there were some discussions on the license part. So we'll address on that. But currently, definitely, if you wanted to using the API for external pricing retrieving, or if you're using commerce POS, right? Then it will be commerce customer. But anyway, otherwise you need to using the CSU's license, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, if you just use supply chain, you're basically underneath the hood there. You're using CSU functionality or commerce, basically, right? And calculating the discounts. Is it a risk? I mean, I've seen so many complex and horrible pricing scenarios where you kind of build up too much, right? So from a performance, both Johan and I are coming from a technical background, and so we always see the problems. We see the solutions, but we also see the problems when things break down, right? So is there kind of I know there's some set limit, but when we add so much flexibility into the pricing engine here, do you see a risk here of things becoming a little bit too complicated because people want to do it if it's raining outside, you get 10% discount, you get all of these imaginative scenarios, right? Will there maybe be some best practices here? Try to avoid having too many attributes, try to avoid using this and this in combination and so forth. And is that something you can work with your telemetry perhaps to see? Because in my mind, it's a bit risky to open up so many possible combinations to reach a sales line, right?
Yes, exactly. Actually, it's come with a surprise. Usually, like if we want to deliver a feature, it's just one by one. But pricing management, when we actually release this feature, we have a bundle of features or complexities introduced on that. So as you mentioned, like it's a kind of trade-off for when you think of a big company having complex pricing requirements,
Yeah.
but there are also some company just wanted to having simple pricing calculations. That's why we actually like thinking of to providing some default setup for the pricing trees or there's a pricing component code. So to avoid the customer to having this pain to set up additional, especially for the commerce customers that are already using the commerce price engine.
Yeah.
That is definitely is on our like way on how we can achieve that. Another thing is that for the performance perspective, actually I have to say pricing's performance is a kind of feature, technical feature. So some of the customer just wanted to having a real time or like a performative pricing calculations.
Yeah.
We are working on that. We have been having customers or partners asking our performance. I have urged our teams to do the pricing that performance testing, and in the future we will definitely release this data or benchmark publicly so that customer can having this confidence on that. But I just say that what you mentioned is great, like how it configure and set up the different attributes and also can impact the performance.
Yeah.
Just think of a customer that using 2 attributes and a customer using 15 attributes. It's really different. And also in a scenario like if you put a big order, like having several lines, and then only or think of retail is only 1 or 2 items in the sales order line. It may also different.
Yeah.
So for the unified price management, definitely we will quite perform in the orders that we having large lines volumes on that part. Like you having a large line for the B2B scenario. We having a distributor, they really like to having their front end system, but they also incorporate like large sales order lines in their sales orders. So the performance, I have to say, there's always no it is involving features in our team. What we will do is that we are working on that and then publish what we having and then providing the best practice guidance on that perspective. Yep.
That's very cool. I mean, now you have all the that's the nice part with the cloud model we're in right now, because you have all of the telemetry, right? You can see all of these things and how they operate. And you can tweak based on a lot of customer setup, and then you can take the horrible cases and then maybe compare them to the simple cases. So that's very good to see that it might come into the problem. We've all seen horrible cases, right, Johan? I mean, there are millions and millions of lines that can combine. And speaking of millions of lines, I had a very detailed question. One thing I've been lacking in the previous pricing is an ability to kind of clean up old prices. Is that something that you're looking into from a housekeeping perspective? Now, with data storage being an expensive thing to discuss, and if you have these, in the end, you might have a very simple pricing setup. Like you can have 2 attributes perhaps, but you still might serve a lot of items, right? So that still means you need to maintain a lot of trade agreement lines on everything. Is that something that you have in the roadmap or in the coming to have ensure that we can clean up expired price rules, clean up expired trade agreements, and so forth, just to reduce the quantity of lines?
Yes, actually, what you say is correct. So basically, we're having 2 requirements currently. We heard one is the capability to maintain the price rules or trade agreement price. So some of the customers requested us like to having this expire functionality to expire the previous trade agreement price. That we are currently working on because previously we can only support the mass maintenance upgrade for the unposted trade agreement, but we definitely will provide the functionality on those to update the posted price rule to having the expired date on that. Talking about this cleanup part, it is actually on our roadmap, and we are thinking of like how we can leverage this archiving functionality.
Yeah, exactly.
To archive. That we do see there's some customers having these requirements wanted to having clean up of the existing price
Archiving
rules.
makes a lot of sense there, because I think I've seen both requirements. Like one is we want to minimize, and one is we want to keep all history, because we want to see all the prices that have changed. So
True.
archiving with a long-term retention makes a lot of sense there, because you can take it away, but you can still analyze it if you want.
Yeah.
So it gives you the best of both worlds.
True. Yeah, for those audience, like for partners and customer, they wanted to request the features, because I just posted in the Yammer. We really wanted you to looking to post your request on the idea portal. We do see and check the idea portal. It's not just a tool that you diverted it to and then we will not build, but definitely we wanted to having a look at the request and helping us to understand the priority. We having a lots of backlog at this moment, so we hope you can vote and then to tell us the business justifications. It will definitely help. Yeah.
That's a great shout. I had it on my agenda here to actually make that shout. I saw that post, but one clarification. You also had because there is no pricing management like category on ideas, right? So if you write pricing category in the headline, it's easier for you to summarize, right? Or categorize, right?
Sure. I'm working on that. So this morning I'm like sending to the idea portal team. I think they will created one later. So that are definitely good. It hasn't been updated for a while. So some of the features we don't having a new category. But I will definitely update it in the Yammer group. So for those customer partner, we encourage you into the Yammer group. We already having 1,050 plus members in the unified pricing management. So we and our engineering team and our engineer manager also will check and then respond to the questions if we can. So please don't hesitate and visit our Yammer group for the communications and engagement. Yeah.
So now Gustav has spent like 25 minutes asking questions. So I'm wondering if I could have a chance to ask a couple of questions.
Sorry, Johan.
No problem. Sometimes I think Gustav, it's his primary hobby, price management and commerce. You mentioned that you are actually taking advantage of the commerce price engine and that you're moving the SCM price management engine into the commerce engine. So today, which one is used by Dual Write and CE if you connect them together? Is it the new one or the old one?
So basically the supply chain management, when connected to the CE, we are having this dual write functionality already. So for the unified pricing management, it's also supported, for the dual write part, but that, it's also supported. But definitely there are some features that we are actually exploring because, we are introducing this order header attributes and line order attributes. And then we need to figure out in the CE how we actually enter these attributes and then get calculated. So there's still a little bit of gap there, and we are working on like testing all those functionality on that to build a smooth transaction. So to put it this way, we are supporting this dual write from CE to the unified pricing management, but we are still having some little gap that we'll cover.
Okay. Yes, but once we go GA, then the customers won't even notice that it's the new sort of pricing engine that is being used in Dual Write. They will set it up in the same way.
You need to activate it.
Yes. But definitely the unified pricing management customer, you need to enable this feature because we also heard like previously we are providing this feature and then it's just universal setup. Like once you enable the feature, it works. However, we do having some customers saying, because they're using the current supply chain management pricing, and they want to roll out one company to another company. So we actually introduced the function to disable per company, so that they're having time to adjust to the new feature. But it's like by default it is enabled, but you allows to disable it and then be able to roll out to different legal entities.
And that will work even if you have it connected through dual rights. So if you have like a Danish company, then that will use one pricing engine, and the Swedish company will use another, even if you do like quotes through CE. Then.
So yes, so if you do not enable the pricing management in that company, that means you are going back to the supply chain management pricing engine. But eventually, I think those customers that enable that is on the roadmap to enable all those companies to having the unified price management.
Yes, I understand. I also had a customer who actually they evaluated the supply chain price management and the commerce price management engine, and they decided that since they need a couple of external applications to use a pricing API, what they decided to do was that they actually built their own pricing API instead. So they have an external component that handles all of the pricing and F&O and CE, and the web interface uses that one instead. So from a technical perspective, and from as I understand it, if you are going to connect to the new pricing engine, you are doing it through the CSU interface, the CSU API. Will there be, like you mentioned before, that there will be a licensing connected to that, especially if you use it externally? But if you use it from another application internally in your own company, will you still have to do like licensing to use that API?
So basically, I say from the current situation, like for the public preview and the general availability scope. So we are actually, we understand that there's a lot of supply chain management customers, they are having their web shop, they're having their web portals. And so if they wanted to having this web shop or web portals to be able to retrieve the price, they still need to using the CSU's API. We are having the fast track teams were guiding the customers how to leverage the CSU based API on that. Yeah.
Yep. Good.
So CSU, I had a feature request. You mentioned Copilot earlier. I know just there are many cases where it came up, but one particular practical use case here would be to explain to me how I reached this particular discount. Because if you have a very complicated price tree, complicated discounts, I know we have the price simulator. You can drill down, and if you know your discounts, then it's fine. You can probably figure it out. But a lot of people don't understand. So it would be helpful if Copilot could, in natural language, explain to me why did it get 10% here, and then it could kind of because this offer is enabled, and it gives you this because it's compounded. Because it goes from, again, going from a very pretty simple, at least, model with a price list, and you have a group or a table or all, and then you get a discount. That's simple enough, right? But if you have these complicated attributes, and it's based on the order and the delivery mode and when it's created and so forth, it would be helpful if we could get some help in explaining that, not only from a configuration perspective, but also for an actual end customer, because it might be hard for the sales clerk to explain to the customer, why did you get this discount? That would be just a feature request, perhaps, if you're taking them for
actually,
I'll put it on ideas.
True, definitely. I see somehow in some like Gartner reports saying that like explanation of the recommendations, like there are critical aspects of like any like the solution to explain the discounts or pricing rules in a compelling human terms, and then and for the customers also like establish the trust, like how why did we set up this discount or something like that. So good point actually. Please put it in the Yammer group, because you know we actually I posted in Yammer, like we welcome all those partners and customers give us a feedback on how the Copilot can helping the price managers, or no matter it's end users or price manager, like to having achieved that the value point they all, and also achieve the automation. So we are very, very like happy to having this conversation offline with different customers and partners.
I'll make a note to put down this. The other way around is also like, I want to enable a discount that gives me this. How should I configure it? And then get some help in actually configuring those things. That's something.
Yes. Actually, just like for the beginning, we're also like looking at what is the performance of the promotion or discounts, because if those insight is enough, then it will probably can help to having a more recommendation for the future pricing rule setup. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep. Cool. I think we actually hit the time limit for today, so I think we need to thank you, Sherry, for being on and explaining this whole pricing engine thing. That's really, really nice of you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah,
thank you, Sherry.
Always welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been great.
And we'll have to wish you a nice Christmas and good luck with the GA eventually, and hope to be able to get you back soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later then.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.